Hi folks, welcome to another edition of Lunchtime Live. My name is Leah. I am the curator here at the Wild Center, and today we're going to be talking about bees. If you've been following along for any length of time, you know that we have a few beehives here on campus. We have two outside that are out in our meadow, and then we have one beehive that is actually in the building, and it's an exhibit, and it's meant to be seen easily by our visitors. So we're going to take a look at this beehive today, which is where I'm sitting. I'm in our Naturalist cabinet right now, which is this area where we have a lot of cool things to look at and explore. So the beehive is just one of those elements in this area, and I'm going to go ahead and flip my screen around. So I've been trying to figure out how to cut the glare. I am right by some windows, so I'm going to put a little block up. Do my best to block so you can see up close inside our indoor beehive. Now, this is just one section of this hive, and it's completely full of bees. There is probably about 30,000 bees in this hive right now. Most of them are females. All of the bees you see right here, these are all female bees. The females are the bees that do all of the real work in the hive. They start out by taking care of young bees. They are the ones that produce the wax to create the hive. They clean and polish the wax if it gets dirty. There are bees that will be undertakers, so they'll take care of dead bees and pull them out of the hive. And then towards the end of their life, and in the summer they live 3 weeks or 4 weeks, at the very end of their life, they become workers that go out and forage. So they're collecting nectar and pollen, and they're bringing that back to the hive. And then there's probably a few males in here. If I see one, I'll try to point one out. The males are generally bigger than the females, and their only job is to mate with a brand new queen. That's really their only job. So they'll mate with her, and if they mate, they die. And if they don't mate with the queen, as we start moving into the fall, they will get kicked out of the hive. So the hive doesn't have to support them through the winter. I'm going to try and show you. Let's see if I can show you on screen. They do have nectar in here. Let's see if I can get over here closer. So in these cells right here, you can kind of see it looks like a little bit of liquid. Hopefully you can see it on your screen. That is the nectar they've collected. So they'll collect the nectar from flowers outside. They mix it with their saliva. They put it into the honeycomb, and then they will dehydrate it a little bit. So nectar is very liquidy, and once it's dehydrated, it becomes honey. And then when it's fully dehydrated and it's in the right consistency for honey, they cap it over with a very special wax that preserves it for as long as it needs to be preserved so that they can store it for eating later. Now I'm gonna also show you, we're gonna come up here. Right here are some young bees that are developing. So the honeycomb is a really amazing structure. First of all, the bees make it. And if you look, every single honeycomb is the same size and shape. They're experts at doing that. It's where they store their food. It's also where the queen will lay her eggs. When the eggs are first laid, they look like a grain of sand. They will hatch out of that little egg. They look kind of like a little white worm, and they will continue to grow inside the honeycomb here with the other bees feeding them and taking care of them. Once they get pretty big, the bees will then cover them up. You can kind of see the little tan. Some of these honeycomb cells look like they're covered over. They cover that with a different kind of wax. That wax allows air to come in so the baby bees can still breathe. They finish developing in there, and eventually they will chew their way out, and then they become a working bee inside the hive. So we see some nectar, we see some, they call that brood. Here's some more brood, you can really see it. So this is some later stage baby bees that are getting ready probably to come out and be adults. I'm going to look around and see if I can show you any pollen. So they will also store pollen inside the honeycomb, and it's usually yellow or orangish, and it just looks like wax in there. Now they will mix the honey and the pollen together. They make something called bee bread, and that is what they eat. The pollen is their protein source, the honey is their carbohydrate, and that is what keeps them healthy. Here in the North Country, in northern New York, our honeybee hives need about 50 pounds of honey to make it through the winter. So that's quite a bit of honey. If they produce any more than that, that's what we would take out of the hive. But typically this hive, because it is not a full-size hive, they don't produce that much honey. So I never actually collect any from here. And as a matter of fact, I often have to feed them. So up here is a little mason jar that I can put sugar solution, I could put honey in there, and it slowly drips down, and the bees can feed off of that if they don't have enough food. So in the winter I will feed them there. And then up here, actually, one moment, I'm gonna get on a step ladder and I will show you how the bees come and go out of this hive. And let me just show you the hive itself. This is the hive in our room. You can see some visitors outside looking at a program. And if we come up here, just take my little thing down, this right here, oops, this structure right here is actually where the bees come and go. So they can go in here, it goes into the wall and outside. And I'm gonna show you, out the window. It's right outside, there's tons of flowers and stuff, and that's how they come and go out of this hive when it's warm like this. In the winter, we will close that off, and the bees they'll probably cluster up top here around the queen, and she'll stop producing eggs during the winter, and they'll just be in here eating their honey and their pollen and waiting for spring. So let's take a look on this side. So we see some more interesting stuff. This is a totally different kind of wax. So this, I'm pretty sure, is what they call propolis. That wax is usually a darker wax. It's very thick, and they will use it to sort of fill the cracks in the hive. They'll also use it to cover any spaces where light and air is getting in. So they're actually trying to cover this window because we have this exposed to light all the time. So they're putting propolis right there. Bring it in closer so you can see some of the bees. This stuff on the walls here is bee poop. Sometimes they will go in there and it'll stick to the walls, and some of the bees will help clean that off. So yeah, I'm looking to see if I see the queen anywhere. If I do, I will point her out. You can see in this top corner there's a lot of commotion going on. Those are probably the workers that are coming and going. Those are the ones that go outside to forage and find food. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them at me. Give you some more views. There's just some bees that are just hanging out right there. Let's come down here and look and see what's going on down here. Okay. So we'll set up right here and see if we see anything interesting. Ah, I see an undertaker bee right here. Where'd it go? Right there. It's dragging a dead bee. Here it is. This one right here is dragging a dead bee, so it's probably gonna try to take it outside and dump it outside. They are really good at keeping their hive clean from pests and mold and even their own dead. So, all right, what else can we see in here? The queen is generally bigger than all of the workers. She has a very tapered abdomen, so she can easily fit down into those honeycomb cells to lay her eggs. And the easiest way I usually find her is that she's often surrounded by workers who are grooming her and feeding her. She's so busy laying eggs that she doesn't have the time to stop to do those things. So the ones that are taking care of her are often in a circle, almost like a bullseye around her. But I'm not seeing her just yet. And she may be in a place where we just can't see her right now. All right. I go back around the other side because I think we can all see a little bit better on this side. We have all these amazing windows right here so we can see our beautiful pond and campus, but they create a lot of reflection on the beehive, unfortunately for us right now. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to shoot them at me. Sometimes it's kind of nice just to sit here and watch them. It's very meditative, I feel like. So we'll just give them a watch for a little while. And I'm gonna look around to see if I can see the queen on this side. It'd be great if we could find her. It's like, where's Waldo? Where is she? But when there's 30 to 60,000 bees in a hive, she's sometimes really hard to find. Oh, and I see another undertaker bee right there. This bee's dragging another deceased bee. I'm gonna take it somewhere, probably outside the hive. Hi, Mom. My mom always watches my programs. So, and what I really like about this is you can just see how industrious the bees are. They all know what to do. They know exactly what their job is. The queen bee emits special chemicals called pheromones, and that helps communicate to the hive what they should be doing. So each bee has their own individual job, and they know exactly how to do it. And they communicate together, and they work together in one big group. It's sort of amazing. There's no fighting. There's no, competition for resources. They're all working towards one goal. So it's really, they're just amazing. How do they know when they're supposed to do what? But they know it. So again, those of you just joining us, we're just checking in on our indoor beehive today. This is an exhibit hive. If you come to visit us here on campus, you'll see it in our Naturalist cabinet. And you can watch the bees do their thing. So there's still some time left in the summer. They're still busy collecting nectar and pollen. The queen's still laying eggs at this point. As we start to move later into the fall, the queen will stop her egg laying for the winter, and they'll get ready to go into winter mode. I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. Your support, even just being here digitally, helps us do what we do. So thank you for coming. Stay tuned. We have more digital programs all the time. And we're cooking up some fun things for the fall. Oh, I see maybe a question. Bob says he lives in the Midwest, and on your recent trip here, you noticed the bees look a bit different, almost like a cross with a bumblebee and a brighter abdomen. Any idea on the differences? So probably, Bob, what you're seeing is some of our native bees. So what we're looking at right now are honeybees, which are actually not native to North America. You know, humans have domesticated them and brought them. These bees are a Italian-Russian hybrid. So I was told when I purchased them. So some of our native bees is what you were seeing. And I think you might have been seeing one of the kinds of bumblebees that we do have around here. They're a little smaller and they have kind of a yellowish orange band on their bodies. I don't remember how many species of native bees New York has, but lots. Linda, singing in the key of B. I like that. That's cute. They do a very special dance. So not only do they buzz, but they also do a dance. If I can find one doing it. It is called a figure 8 dance or a waggle dance. So they will do these motions where they go in a figure 8 and they wiggle their bodies. The workers that have come back from foraging, And that dance tells the other workers exactly where to go to find the nectar and the pollen that that bee found. So it's one of the ways they communicate, through dance. Interpretive dance, basically. So if a mile from here there's a patch of clover that is in bloom and it's ripe for getting more nectar, the bee will come back and do that little dance, and the way they do their figure eight and their wiggle tells the other bees exactly how to get to that exact clover patch. Like I said, they're fascinating. It's amazing the way they communicate and how they get it all done. Again, thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to sign off for now. Stay tuned for our next Lunchtime Live program and all of our digital offerings. If you're coming to visit us on site, make sure you make a reservation first. But we have a lot of great stuff going on. We have a sculpture exhibit by a local artist all throughout our trails. We also have Stickworks, which is a beautiful, large-scale twig sculpture installation that you can actually walk inside of. It has 4 or 5 rooms, and it's a really neat experience. So join us either digitally or on site, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.